Hello, hello. I'm going to turn a light on here real quick. Okay, that should be better. I need to get a whole bit of lighting system set up here in my office. I wanted to talk today about the endocannabinoid system. I bought a book and I did a couple of webinars, or not webinars, sessions looking at this, trying to understand it better, because we are dealing with some autoimmune kind of things in my family, and I'm trying to find things to help my children. So I think a lot of times, doesn't our research start by a need, right? We have a need, so then we start looking for something to help us. And CBD has hit the market like a train, and people have needs, and they're looking for this and wondering, is this the option, and will this help me? Well, I really like to look at the science, and so I started trying to think of, how do I know what I need unless I understand what's happening in the body and in the brain? And here comes in research on the endocannabinoid system. So I'm not going to get too sciencey on you, but I am going to get a little bit, because I think you need to understand a little bit of what's happening in the body to help you make the best choices for yourself when you're looking at these different products. So the endocannabinoid system was really discovered in the 1960s when a doctor decided to research the effects of marijuana and cannabis on the body. He wanted to know, why is it causing this reaction for people? And in his research, he discovered this system in the body that's really pervasive across the whole body, that is communicating or facilitating communication between the cells. So when it works really well, all of our cells, from our brain to our nerves to our gut, are talking and communicating, and things are working with ease. And when the system is not working well and something isn't communicating well, whether that be the brain or the gut or our nerve endings, then you get dis-ease, right? Our body has to be able to communicate and talk. And so that's a big function of the endocannabinoid system, frequently just called the ECB. Makes it sound like a government agency, the letters ECB. But what it's doing is, it's kind of an innate intelligence in the body that's designed to be self-healing, designed to handle dis-ease when it happens, and to maintain balance and homeostasis. So to keep the balance in our body, whether that be our mental wellness or our physical wellness, gut, brain, nerve endings, all of that in balance. And we know what happens when any of those things get out of balance. Today was an insane day for me with work. Well, really, it's more the week, and I can feel my brain just getting out of balance, and I end up getting really foggy and irritable. And so when things are out of balance, it can be something that's just a situational event, like my week, or it can be something that becomes more chronic, like my daughter's autoimmune issue. So looking at the ECB, one way of thinking of it is, it's like the master mediator of the body. It is talking to every part and finding solutions and addressing concerns. So everything from immune responses, inflammation, spasticity, so like muscle spasms or lack of movement in muscles that need to be moving, blood pressure, bronchial passages, the lungs, metabolic pathways. Now we're talking the whole digestive system, fat processing, even helping normalize stimulated neuropathic activity. So things that are happening in the brain. So the ECS, endocannabinoid system, that's the S, is mediating all of this all the time. And one of the main things that it needs, the food basically for the ECS, is dietary fatty acids. That is what is really important to keep all these things moving, to keep the endocannabinoids flowing and talking within our body. So diet is very important. We've seen that in so many areas. And then when it's working well, the ECB is either activating systems and cells or deactivating systems and cells, depending on what's needed. And it produces endocannabinoids. So these are little substances, for lack of a better word, that endocannabinoids, when it has that word endo, means it is endogenous, it is natural to the body. The body produces those on its own. And then the body also has then the receptors, which are called the cannabinoid receptors, where then those endocannabinoids can connect and talk to the cell and tell it what it needs to do. And then there are also precursors and degrading enzymes that are boosting or lowering as needed that whole system. And that's where food really comes in play to help make sure those precursors and those enzymes that the system needs are there and are functioning well. So once the system is working well, those endocannabinoids can speak directly to cells. They're called ligands, which basically means they're lipid, they're fat soluble, they can cross into cells, they can connect to receptors on cells. So they're very important. So we have the endocannabinoids created by the body. We also have synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic meaning created by man, either in a lab or because of chemicals and different substances. And we have phytocannabinoids coming from plants. So the phytocannabinoids obviously were the ones people were familiar with to start with, because that's the cannabis plant is one of the main ones that first started all of this research. It's not the only plant that has cannabinoids in it. It was just the main one, and so this whole system kind of got named after that plant. It's just the most well-known. And it then has, the plant itself has the phytocannabinoids, and it has either the THC, which is what we're familiar with in the drug and having the psychoactive effect on the brain, or CBD, which is the other form of cannabinoids with it, THC, CBD, both with it from the same plant. But there's actually then a master cannabinoid, not just with that plant, called CBGA, which is cannabigerolic acid. I'm not good with science words. And that one is like the master, and it will break down into different substances, THCA, CBDA, CBGA. And once you have those, you actually have to apply heat before you get the substances we're familiar with. So THCA, you heat it, you get THC. Then you have the psychoactive effect on the brain. But you take the CBDA and you heat it, apply heat, and you get CBD. And then the CBGA leads to CBC, which is something different, probably not going to talk about today. So again, so these endocannabinoids are like chemical messengers working within the brain, talking to every single body process. It's not just the brain. I just said that, in the brain, but it's everywhere. These ECBs have been found in the liver, the stomach, the lungs, the blood. They're everywhere, and they are the cellular communicators. So they're obviously very key. And like I said earlier, the body can create endocannabinoids, a natural substance from within the body, but it doesn't store them. It creates them as needed. So there's other things, which we're going to talk about one of my future webinars, like neurotransmitters that also communicate within the body, and the body is able to store those for when it needs it, but not with the endocannabinoids. So now we're back to how important it is to be able to introduce those into the body, diet being one of the main ways, but those receptors are key in helping bring balance again. So when those receptors get damaged, then the communication gets damaged as well. So two things: we need to be able to create the cannabinoids or the endocannabinoids, support them within our body, and we've got to clean those receptors on the cells so that when the endocannabinoids show up, the body can use them. All right, so Dr. Stewart, PhD, proposed that essential oils could help clean off those receptor sites, and began doing research looking at that, and found that oils that are high in terpenes, this is a lot of science, I know, but oils high in terpenes actually can help clean off those receptors so that the whole system is signaling better and working better. And some oils that are high, there are a lot of oils that are high in terpenes, and I'm going to talk about a couple in particular that impact the endocannabinoid system here in a second. But real quick, I'm about to get to CBD and Copaiba, but I want to talk first about the different receptors. So like I told you, there's receptors, and the endocannabinoids are talking to these receptors, basically. And there's two primary ones that science has found so far: the CB1 and the CB2. They're like real original there, but it makes it easy to remember, right? We got the ones and the twos. So the ones tend to target memory, Learning, neuronal development, so developing new neurons and connections both in the brain and throughout the body, regulating addiction and reward, pain reduction, reduction of inflammation, both in the brain and in the body, regulating metabolism, regulating food intake, modulating bone density, cardiovascular regulation, can induce sleep, can play a role in psychosis, the CB1 receptors, when things aren't balanced or working well, and can also play a role in insulin resistance. So that's CB1. So then we have CB2, which is targeting, or the benefits of targeting it. It can be anti-inflammatory, assist with pain, assist with liver, neuroprotectant, meaning actually protecting the neurons, which of course protects the brain as well as the cells in the rest of the body, assisting with neuropathic pain, addiction support, anti-stress, antidepressant, antipsychotic, both grown and repair, immune regulation and support, bowel and gut support, gut microbiome support, reduction in body fat mass, and reduction in body weight gain. So when we target CBD, these are some of the benefits or CBD2, those are some of the benefits you may see. So you can see there's some overlap in targeting CBD1 or CB1 versus targeting CB2. There's some overlap, but there's different benefits in each, with a lot of benefit on the CB2, just in my opinion, in the areas I'm looking for. Now, if you get too many receptors, that can also be a problem. So if you activate and create too many CB1 receptors, this in science has started to be linked to psychosis. And if you activate or overexpress too many CB2 receptors, it's linked to autoimmune. So we need our body to be in balance and in stasis. And lots of us, and especially if you're listening to this video, you're probably looking for substances to help bring back that balance. So first thing that's very important to know is food makes a big difference, and we're hearing that, but the microbiome, the gut, and how it's working is key in the ECB system, as well as many, many other systems. So the first step is looking for those good omega fatty acids, which help the system to then work effectively and help prevent these dis-ease states. So some foods that are very omega rich include hemp seeds, avocados, salmon, sardines, cod liver oil, nuts, flax and chia seeds, and mackerel. I'm not sure I've ever eaten mackerel in my life, but there you go. All right, so we're going to be impacting multiple systems, everything from the fertility system to the gut and digestive system to the brain. And so really understanding how you're wanting to impact your endocannabinoid system is critical. So here's where I want to talk about the different products out there. So CBDs come on the market, and it's a big thing right now. And I'm not here to say CBD is bad or that one's better than the other, but there are some issues with CBD. And this is research I've done, and then it's from doctors and scientists that I've been able to see speak. And some of the issues are, let me see what some of the challenges. Some of it is kind of analytical, and this is about consistency. And there's so many products out there, and that's true of many things. That's true of essential oils too. But it is really, really hard to find consistency in the CBD. It doesn't mean it's not out there, but for the average consumer searching for this, how are they going to find that or know that they have a product that has a good efficacy, that's working, and that it's consistent from every batch they buy? So I was able to see a researcher, Dr. Lee, L.E., speak, and he wanted to evaluate the effect of Copaiba oil versus CBD on neuronal I'll show you the signaling pathways. So he went out to purchase both of these substances. And as a scientist, he needs every single batch to be the same, or he can't conduct consistent research. And so he bought 6 different brands of CBD, and he did not tell us the names of what he bought, but found that only one of those had any bioactivity, meaning only one of those was actually going to impact the body and the CB receptors like we wanted them to. So finding that consistency is really hard. The other thing he found was the cost to get enough of it to impact systems the way he was looking for in those neurons was high. You had to buy a lot and use a lot of it. So the second issue is regulatory. And right now, this is kind of in this gray area, and some countries even are not accepting it. Even the FDA in the United States is still researching what they think about CBD, and you may see changes in regulations come there. It's just hard to get those stringent standards, and there's no idea of what the long-term impact is going to look like with this. So the FDA even is still kind of looking at it and making some decisions. So those are just a couple of the issues, the price, the amount you have to take, finding a consistency, finding a strong enough brand. And so here's the second thing that happens with CBD. So CBD actually does not directly impact any of the receptors in our system that we're talking about here. It does not directly impact CB1, and it has minimal impact at all on CB2. It's actually an indirect action, meaning it's activating something else that then is activating the CB1 receptor or the endocannabinoids. And so that also creates a little bit, you got to go between now. Doesn't mean that that can't work, but again, this may be a piece. Again, the science is still out, but it's a piece of why it's taking so much before you kind of see the reaction that you want. So the CBD2 receptor, remember, is a strong mediator for the immune system, inflammation, lots of critical pathways. And so CBD is actually having negligible impact on that at all. And it's having some indirect impact on the CB1, which may be beneficial in those things I listed before, but it is just kind of a concern there with that product. So essential oils. So here's the other option. As I told you earlier, terpenes is a part of, it's a component of some essential oils and other substances in the world, especially in plants, fruits, and things like that. But terpenes can help clean off those receptor sites. So Copaiba oil is one of the highest known concentrations of a terpene called beta-caryophyllene. And so we have got two benefits here. First of all, it has the terpenes, and second of all, it is an immediate activator on the CBD2 receptor. So 2 benefits out of one thing. Sorry, my brownies are beeping in there. I didn't set my time very well. Okay, so Copaiba is special because it's not only a terpene cleaning off receptors, but it's also a cannabinoid. So now you're kind of getting like 2 whammies in one. So huge benefit there. Other oils that have some terpene levels in them, or the beta-caryophyllene, black pepper essential oil, which is different than your spice, is about 25% BCP, beta-caryophyllene. And now here's one that was really interesting to me. Helichrysum oil comes from a flower. It's a very delicate oil, but it actually contains CBGA, which, if you remember all the science way back in the beginning, is actually the master cannabinoid. From CBGA can come all of the others, and helichrysum contains that master, which the body could then process and derive other cannabinoids on its own. So very interesting, and not as much research yet on how helichrysum is impacting the cannabinoid system as there is with Copaiba, but it's an interesting benefit there. So real quick then, I just want to kind of look at Copaiba versus CBD. So I was able to hear Dr. Hill speak, another scientist, Scott Johnson, and then that Dr. Lee that I mentioned, and really looking at how these molecules are impacting the actual endocannabinoid system. And so Copaiba really does some things that CBD can't. I'm not sure there's anything CBD does that Copaiba can't. Doesn't mean they couldn't work in concert though, but it's just, knowing your options here as you're making choices for yourself. It's really hard to make a fair comparison even of them. They don't even come from the same plant. Copaiba does not come from the cannabis plant. It comes from a tree, and it's from a resin. And it's pure in its form, while CBD, all CBD that you buy is in a carrier oil. So the majority of the bottle that you're buying is some form of carrier oil. Could be an olive oil, could be a coconut oil. Hopefully your bottle tells you what it is, but it is all diluted into a carrier oil. So with Copaiba, you'd be looking at a pure straight option of just like 2 drops. You can do 2 drops under your tongue. I actually do a gel cap, so it's about 2 drops already in a capsule, so I don't have to make it, and it's super easy, and it's easier for me to remember. And I do 1 to 2 of those at night, every night. So this is impacting receptors all over the body. In the brain, in the eyes, in the blood vessel, in the gut, in the microbiome, directly into cells and neurons. And that CBD2, remember, is huge in the immune system. And if you remember, too much CBD2 receptors was indicated in autoimmune disease. So what we're wanting to do is balance out that endocannabinoid system to get it back to homeostasis and where it's supposed to be, to help boost those immune system reactions or decrease immune system reactions that are excessive at this point. So the Copaiba that doTERRA offers is very complex. It has 4 different blended species, which makes it really, really powerful. I told you it has the beta-caryophyllene in it, the terpene, but it also has 99% of a sesquiterpene content, which makes it really high metabolic potential, meaning the body can metabolize it and use it very easy, and it's very long lasting in the body. Very complex chemical components to it. These are all from some of the doctors, the researchers I've been able to look at. Over 1,000 studies done. So it's not new, really, and it is part of the scientific community of looking how very small amounts of Copaiba is showing very large benefits. Like 1 to 3 drops is directly activating that system and those receptors to have multiple different outcomes across the body. So I think that's about it. So some advantages here. I mean, both products can have amazing support. Just see a lot of advantages with the Copaiba with that direct activity on the CBD2s and more rapid cellular effect because, again, it's a very potent chemical composition in the oil. It is, the price is pretty right because like 2 drops is, I don't even know, like I'd have to look, I don't know, 5 cents, 8 cents a drop or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I haven't done the math there, but it's very, very reasonably priced. The purity is there. While one researcher found 69% of CBD that he purchased from the market was mislabeled or did not actually have any CBD in it or had levels of THC higher than what is allowed. So that's some concerns. Some safety concerns with some, again, I told you the FDA is still investigating, and one of the concerns being that the impact on the liver with the CBD, and you don't have that with the Copaiba and the beta-caryophyllene. Yeah, I already talked about the pathways and working directly. So CBD2 receptors abundant in the immune system, the digestive tract, the bones, the muscles, the major organs, the brain. And so being able to talk to these CBD2 receptors. But overall, I think the important thing to know is particularly if your body is out of balance in any of these areas, any of the areas listed before, understand the endocannabinoid system and understand how your diet is impacting it, and then options you have to support it. These are just 2. There's many others out there, but I do think that Copaiba is an amazing option here and certainly worth looking into and trying. All right, that is all I have for today. If you have any questions, post them in the Facebook or feel free to send me a private message, and I will see y'all next week.